We're at the airport heading towards Armenia for healing the trauma of Azeri invasion and the ethnic cleansing in Artsakh. It's a very difficult situation, and there's a lot of both generational and horizontal violence that's going to follow if we don't address the trauma at the beginning stage of its happening. So I'm very, I have mixed feelings. I'm excited as usual to come to Armenia every year and to help in any way I can. But then, on the other hand, I know that's going to be a very emotionally draining mission. We are at the airport on our way to our mission to Armenia, and we're speaking with Natalia Maria Tomasini.
Hello, this is my first mission with Meaningful World, and I'm looking forward to sharing my skills in Reiki as a Reiki master to assist the Armenian people at this difficult time in their lives where there is much chaos in the country. And I am very happy to be part of the team of Meaningful World.
We are reporting from the other ethnic cleansing, the one addressed with world silence. We are reporting from Syunik, Armenia, at the border of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan blockaded Artsakh for over 10 months, where 120,000 innocent indigenous Christian Armenians were living for over 2,500 years. After starving them and preventing any humanitarian aid entering Artsakh, on September 19th, Azerbaijan began bombing Artsakh with the assistance of Turkey, killing thousands, including 300 children. Then, they threw the rest of 110,000 Armenians out of their ancestral homes. 1,119 are still missing, 500 confirmed dead, more reported injured. During the exodus, close to 100 people died as the roads were narrow with heavy traffic. With no food and little fuel, some told us it took them 4 days to cross the border to safety in Armenia. The situation is dire, with the entire Armenian population forced to leave their enclave after Azerbaijan's military offensive, backed by Turkey and Israel. Families are leaving with only the essentials, seeking refuge in Armenia to escape the impending rule of Azerbaijan and the fear of persecution. Dr. Ani Kalajian initiated and led the first outreach mission immediately after the devastating earthquake in 1988. Since then, we have continued to volunteer consistently in Armenia. Meaningful World has also volunteered in 26 U.S. states and 50 countries around the world. Our team in Armenia is comprised of Dr. Ani Kalajian and Natalia Tomasini from the United States and Margot Sargsyan from Yerevan. There have been numerous traumatic events inflicted upon the people of Armenia due to Azerbaijan bordering the east of Armenia with Turkey on the west, and more importantly, the history of these feuding countries. I will give a short summary of the human rights violations in Artsakh, also known as Nagorno-Karabakh. The Sumgait massacres, occurring in February 1988 in the Azerbaijani city of Sumgait, were a series of violent events that specifically targeted the Armenian population. These brutal attacks led to the death of at least 32 people and forced many Armenians to flee the area, exacerbating ethnic tensions amid the ongoing Nagorno-Karabakh conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The events in Sumgait marked a tragic episode in the complex and fraught history of the region. The Second Nagorno-Karabakh War, also known as the 44-Day War, was a military offensive by Azerbaijan called Iron Fist over the Nagorno-Karabakh area, which took place from late September to November 2020. The conflict resulted in the deaths of about 6,700 soldiers, with roughly 3,800 of them being Armenian, and approximately 70,000 people were displaced from their homes because of this. Russia mediated a ceasefire that brought the war to a conclusion, and as a result, Azerbaijan took control of a sizable portion of the territory that had previously been held by Armenian forces in Artsakh. As a result of this war, many people have lost their family members in battle or have been forced to relocate. In December, the borders to Artsakh were blockaded by Azerbaijan. This blockade has had devastating consequences on the population as the importation of food, fuel, and medicine is blocked. About 120,000 residents were trapped, which had created a humanitarian crisis. After months of this blockade, Azerbaijani forces decided to blow up a petroleum depot. This criminal act killed dozens and wounded over 200 Armenians. Even to this day, there are many Artsakh Armenians who are missing. Before traveling to the southern Datev province, we volunteered in Yerevan and Echmiadzin. We addressed collective trauma, individual trauma, horizontal violence, as well as generational trauma on both parts, anger and hatred expressed by Azeris, sadness and frustrations expressed by Armenians. We worked in more than 6 universities, had several media appearances with Voice of America as well as the Armenian radio. We began our work at the holy city Echmiadzin. On Monday, we gave training to the academy students and faculty at the Minister of Emergency Situations. The impact was very palpable as everyone expressed insecurity, lack of safety, and fear of a war erupting. The next day, we had media appearances and then paid visit to the landmark Kozak Gastrohouse, which has a rich ancient history of the area with its 3 churches, monasteries, and more. We then had workshops at the Urartu University, 2 workshops at the American University of Armenia, and 2 at Yerevan State University. We also presented at the annual International Behavioral Science Conference at YSU. Afterwards, we were then invited to return early from the Siunik area to give another workshop at the Yerevan State Pedagogical University, and while in Goris, we conducted a workshop at the University of Goris. Soul surfing was included in every training workshop, which is an integrative physical release exercise created by Dr. Ani. In all our workshops, we generously gifted flower essences specially made for Armenia, such as Peace and Justice, Ancestry Align, designed to transform generational trauma, Grief Relief to transform high levels of grief, Post-Trauma Stabilizer for transforming trauma, and Fear Less to transform fear. Our special gratitude goes to Flower Essence Services. Meaningful World also donated lavender and rosemary essential oils, blended for relaxation and protection. In addition, we also donated earrings and sets of our 6 books to the libraries of all the universities. The first 10 days were spent in the capital city of Yerevan, where we worked and trained psychologists, students, staff, and administrators in 7 departments of 6 universities: the Academy, the American University of Armenia, Yerevan State University, Yerevan State Pedagogical University, Urartu University, and University of Goris. We trained the groups in new, up-to-date integrative modalities such as tapping, energy healing, Reiki, flower essences, essential oils, mindfulness meditation, physical release, and the 7-step integrative healing model that we incorporate into every one of our weekly sessions. In addition, we also connected and worked with several NGOs locally and globally for these training sessions. The next 10 days were spent working on the southern border region of Armenia, in the Datev province covering 8 villages. Our Meaningful World humanitarian mission for trauma healing was addressing the survivors' trauma as well as assessing their basic needs. It is challenging to help people heal from trauma when those people who suffered could see the enemy. The Azeri soldiers spout hatred towards Armenians, their intentions made clear by them chanting, "We will wipe you off the map." We met with the mayor of the Datev Siunik region, Mr. Samvel Alayan, as well as many Artsakh families forcibly thrown out of their homes with only a shirt on their back. Some of these victims could not even grab their phones before fleeing, as many were in the middle of picking up their children and running away from Azeri shelling and bombing. There are more than 100 families in the Datev Siunik region, where many families sit frozen in fear and in the freezing conditions with no blankets and no winter clothing. They have homes, thank God, in the Armenian government, but their homes are stone cold, bare walls and floors with no gas or wood to burn and heat themselves up. They were in tears sharing their story, and we were too. The situation was too sad to cope and to witness. Some of the strengths of Armenians are faith, family, community, hospitality, and love of their country. It is devastating to see these destroyed by the war in Artsakh. There was so much pain and fear of another war as Azerbaijan keeps threatening and wanting more of Armenian land. It was so hard for our team as after each visit to families, we secluded ourselves in a car to hide and cry, write, pray, and meditate for humanity to awaken. Survivor cases. Case 1. Nune. Her son was still missing. The last call was responded by a Turk. Nune was crying as she told us her story of being forced to leave. They did not know that they had left for good. They thought it was temporary and did not even have a chance to pick up her phone as she was carrying her grandchildren. Case 2. Lucy, a 22-year-old young girl who was just married a year ago, and then her husband was sent to the military, and she never saw him again until 80% of his body was burned up from the Azeri soldiers throwing a bomb on a petroleum tank, causing an explosion. She found a place to live with extended family near Yerevan, but she cannot continue her university education until she updates her paperwork in her passport. During the Azeri aggression, her passport had expired. Children in the region were frozen too. They were crying, asking for their schools, their home in Artsakh, their friends, and their teachers. Inhabitants of an entire city with several villages were distributed all around Armenia throughout many provinces, so communities were no longer close to one another and broken apart. Parents felt responsible and guilty to let their children witness these horrors and brutality at their doorsteps. Children were asking, "Why is the world so violent? Why can't people love one another?" It was hard to respond, as well as to protect children from the brutality of the world and feeling the need to prepare them for a dangerous life. Kids could see on social media beheaded bodies, broken arms and limbs, and shattered homes and windows. I did not see that when Israel was shelling my home in Aleppo, Syria, when I was a child. I could only hear the bombs. Yes, our windows shattered, and we had to run to sub-basements. We were protected from social media, but not our children. They are not protected now. Survivor feelings. Most survivors express fear, frustration, embarrassment, feeling victimized, fooled, extremely sad, depressed, yearning for their homes and community, their schools, parks, gardens, and backyards. The men especially felt useless and helpless, and that they could not protect their families. They didn't have jobs, and they lacked the will to live and carry on. Less than a month after the Azeri brutality, Gaza was targeted for ethnic cleansing and the entire world began talking about it. The US president is supporting this genocide. It is televised and covered on all social media. Armenians from Artsakh have repeatedly expressed frustration and anger. Aren't we human? Why haven't they covered our trauma? We lost our homes in the entire city of Artsakh. Why is there so much indifference and silence? It is almost impossible to put into words the unfathomable tragedy that we witnessed. I do not wish it to any human being. It seems the darkest side of humanity has unleashed itself, and it's out of control. Governments are promoting violence under the name of justice and punishing terrorists. We collaborated with United Sikhs to bring heaters to over 30 homes. Meaningful World distributed over 40 backpacks, clothing for children, coats, blankets, food and clothing for adults, hygiene items, washing machines, as well as healing flower remedies donated by Flower Essence Society. In addition to collaboration with the United Sikhs, Meaningful World planted 12 trees as connecting and giving back to Mother Earth is an essential part of our 7-step model. At the end of our mission, our team was able to visit a historic site named Karahunj, also known by other names such as Zorat's Karer, Tik Karer, Tsits Karer, or Karanish. This is a prehistoric archaeological site near the town of Sisyan in the Syunik province of Armenia. The translation of Karahunj in Armenian to English means speaking stones, and is often referred to among international tourists as the Armenian Stonehenge. Many scientists tried to find an answer of how old the Karahunj is. However, the most accurate statement was made by an Armenian physicist, Paris Heruni. After thoroughly studying the monument and its history, he claims that Karahunj was founded over 7,500 years ago, 4,500 years older than the more well-known British Stonehenge. Our special gratitude goes out to the Transcendental Meditation Society, Dr. Shapiro and John Gumishian, for our TM training while on the mission, which has helped us with self-care as well as helping local traumatized survivors. Gratitude to our volunteers, Natalia Tomasini, Margot Sargsian, John Gumishian, Aro Kablanian, and Grigor Mikhaelian. Gratitude to all our donors. You made a great difference and brought a smile on many innocent people's faces. Thank you for watching the film. Please donate to our cause today at www.meaningfulworld.com. Thank you.